Welcome to another exciting Chinwag. I'm Stephen Asma, and you're about to hear an episode that Paul and I recorded live from Revolution Hall in Portland. It was an amazing time, and we want to thank Revolution Hall for hosting us. And thanks to all of our devoted Chinwag fans who came out to see us. This was really a rowdy, wonderful group. So we had a great time in Portland. The subject of today's episode is unicorns and magical creatures. Yeah, you heard that right. So without further ado, let's get to wagging.
Unreal. Oh my God. Is there anybody out there who actually plays the theremin? Is there? There's got to be. We're in Portland. I mean, there's got to be, right? I expect there's got to be somebody who knows what the hell they're doing with a theremin. Yeah.
All right.
Right over there, I got a whole section of theremin players. Every theremin player in Portland is here. Fantastic. Hiya, Steve.
Hi, Paul.
How
nice
are
to see
you, man?
Good. I'm worn out from that set. That was
Dude,
intense.
that's yours. Isn't that amazing? He's a philosophy professor.
Thank you.
But he's also played the guitar professionally.
And you apparently are an actor of some
I'm
kind.
apparently an actor, and I do not play the theremin professionally. I'm an amateur. This is lovely to be in Portland.
Yeah.
It's really nice. For 3 years, I lived in another city to the north of here, in a state to the north of here. I'm not going to say what that city was. And I'm not going to say something foolhardy like, I think this is kind of a nicer city.
Yes.
I'm not going to say something stupid like that. But it is a really great place. And I got to say, I was walking around today and thinking, why the fuck did I leave the Pacific Northwest? Why did I move to New York City? Because it's great here. It really is. So it's lovely to be here. Yeah. And this place is great.
Yeah, this place is great. We walked down to Powell's today. We took the long walk,
Powell's,
spent some time at Powell's.
Spent a lot of time.
We went to the rare books collection, which is incredible. I mean, you guys know all that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
It's a beautiful place.
No, it's great. Anyway, now we're here. And if for those of you familiar with what we do,
are there fans of the podcast?
Yes, there are people who've said it before.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And the rest of you will be shocked at what's about to happen. Will be absolutely amazed that two grown men will do what we're about to do. We pick a topic usually, and it's usually something that we find interesting, and sometimes we may not know much about it. In this particular topic, I was surprised to think, I don't know anything about one of these things we're going to talk about. I don't know shit about unicorns, I realized.
And now Paul is a master of all things unicorn.
But I thought, this familiar animal, a unicorn, that is so ubiquitous and such a part of all kinds of mythology and stuff, and I don't really know anything about them or what the hell the deal with them is. So we were going to talk about unicorns. And
they're like, oh, is that what the topic is? No, we're sort of like telescoping out from unicorns to other fantastical creatures. So all kinds of mythological and sort of magical beasts will be the discussion this evening.
Right. And I think, we're in the Pacific Northwest, and where you have Sasquatch and shit like that. But that's right.
Oh, that's the easy thing. That's easy. Yeah. That's
real. That's real. But it is interesting, because I did want you to start off, Professor.
Okay.
Yeah. By telling, what's the difference between a sort of just mythological thing and a cryptid, which is what Sasquatch is?
Yes.
It's like he's a cryptid.
Okay.
Or it's a cryptid.
It's a good question. I don't have well done.
Yeah,
I don't really have a clear answer. But,
great.
Because I think historically, it was all mixed up together. There'd be something like a unicorn or like a crazy creature like the BLEMMYES, were these creatures that...
The what?
Well, the BLEMMYES. Come on, follow me here.
All right.
They don't have a head. They look like a human, no head, and then the face is coming out of the chest. Are you familiar with the BLEMMYES, some of you? This is Portland.
I've never heard of that. Really?
Anyway, so there would be legends about these creatures being brought back by travelers, adventurers who'd gone to the east or whatever it was.
Right.
And so...
Like Marco Polo.
Yeah, Marco Polo. John Mandeville, whatever.
Right.
And then eventually this settled into some creatures that turned out to be real, like the giant squid.
Right. Orangutans.
Orangutans,
thing,
yeah.
right?
Like the platypus. People are like, that's real? Come on.
I still think the platypus is fucking fake. Do you know it's really hard to see a platypus?
Yeah.
It's apparently like impossible.
It's difficult.
I read about some naturalist who spent years waiting to see a platypus, and the thing just was kind of like, and then was gone.
Well,
and that made the guy's whole life.
Also, nobody believed
they're also poisonous.
Yeah, they have like a hook on their hand
They're
that's
fucking
poisonous.
vicious, a platypus.
They're not vicious.
They could kill you. They could kill you if they wanted to, couldn't they?
I don't know if they could kill you. I mean,
They're a crazy animal, though. They're really
they lay
crazy
eggs, and nobody believed that they laid eggs. And then these like British society was like, nobody, they don't lay eggs. And this guy was like, I'm going to shoot one while it's laying an egg, and that's what he did.
Really?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Do people eat platypus eggs? Can you go out and like eat? Is that like a delicacy?
That sounds like a whole new episode of the Chinwag for us.
It's Australia, right?
Yes.
Is that where they are? Yeah. Oh
So
my
anyway,
God. How
to
did you
answer
get
your
the fucking
question,
platypus? Yeah. Okay.
To answer your question, I think you've got something like Bigfoot, which is a cryptid and may or may not be real. Just out of curiosity, how many of you think Sasquatch is real? All right. It's context dependent.
Oh, wow.
We're not into that subtlety.
You want to
on
come
the
up and you
Chinwag,
should, yeah. Wow. Context. Well, that's interesting. Context dependent. Oh, very interesting.
Like if you're high or stoned, then he's real? Okay. But I think the Fantastic Beasts are sort of slipped into legend altogether. There's no longer a question about the unicorn, I think.
Right.
That would be my view.
No, okay. That's cool. Thank you. That's good to know. Thanks a lot, man.
You sounded sarcastic.
No, not at all. No. I mean it. I absolutely mean it.
Okay.
But these are my extensive notes right here. I thought I'm just going to dive into this and see. And I was surprised to see how far back the idea of a unicorn goes.
Yeah.
They got them in the Bible. I'm like, why is there a fucking unicorn in the Bible? You know, I mean, it doesn't seem to have any point, but it's mentioned in the Bible, unicorns. And I guess it goes back even further, about 2,000 years into the Indus Valley, which I guess is sort of northern India.
Yeah,
kind
that's
of.
right.
Northern India. And that there's the first depictions of a unicorn, which was this cow-like thing. And for a long time, scholars like yourself thought that it was these depictions of these creatures was a bull seen in profile. So all you were seeing was one horn.
The horn.
Right.
I see.
And then somebody somehow figured out that, in fact, it was a unicorn you were seeing. It was only one horn that you were seeing.
But it looked like a cow? Because usually it's a horse type figure with a single.
But that's the kind of early days of talking about a unicorn. It's not this kind of elegant, beautiful white horse
of like
that we think it is.
Medieval period, you get the beautiful white horse.
No, it's much more kind of like it's big. What's his name? Pliny. You like Pliny?
Pliny, Roman historian or natural historian.
He was a naturalist who kind of gathered all these stories about stuff. He said it is a very fierce animal, and this is interesting because they're ferocious. In the early stories of them, they're very fierce all the time. It has a single horn. It has the head of a stag, the feet of an elephant, the tail of a boar. The rest is like a horse. What's left after that? The fuck is like a horse? It makes a deep growling noise, has a single black horn, 35 inches, exactly 35 inches. Exactly, projecting from its head, which is clearly a rhinoceros.
Yeah, that sounds like a rhino. Are they just confused?
I think they must have been.
Yeah.
Right? Because later you get Marco Polo claiming to see one. It's the same thing. He says, watch this. He says,
look at him.
It's smaller than an elephant, feet like an elephant, black horn, pig head, wallows in the mud. Clearly not what we think it is. But it's clearly a rhinoceros, right?
Yeah, that sounds like a rhino.
So do we think the whole basis of this is a rhinoceros?
Well, I mean, that's weird because
yes. Context, lady.
Context dependent.
Context. I'll just turn the theremin over to you.
Yeah.
And
no, it's a great point.
Albrecht Dürer, he did an etching of a rhinoceros, right?
But he never
saw an actual rhinoceros.
No, he never saw it.
He never saw it.
No. It was on its way. Go ahead.
Wait a minute. What? What is that? What the fuck happened? So there's a rhinoceros just wandering around Germany?
No, there's no rhinos. And
there's no rhinoceros at all. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, they describe it to him. So he thinks he's drawing a unicorn. Is that the problem? Is that what's happening?
Okay, I have to add context to your context. Hold on. You're right, but what is happening is that they are gifting an actual rhino to the king, and Durer knows when it's coming in, so he goes down to the port, and he's going to draw it when it arrives.
Right.
Turns out the ship sinks, the rhino goes down with the ship, a guy survives, and he interviews that guy and does the drawing based on the interview that guy gave him. Yeah.
That tracks.
And
Thank
it's
you.
a really good drawing.
It's a really
great
good drawing.
Yeah,
it's an
amazing.
incredible drawing of a rhinoceros, actually, and seems pretty accurate.
Except that he adds another horn on the shoulder blades, which, I don't know if you want to cut him some slack.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
You really to just get it described
That's
to him.
fascinating. I didn't know. That's amazing. I thought he drew it from seeing it. Wow. Well, I was wrong once again.
This is the first time.
I know. There's got to be the first time. So I mean, it certainly sounds like a rhino, and it certainly doesn't seem like the thing that it becomes later. And I don't understand how something changes like that over time, but it does. Which is a fascinating thing that human minds and imaginations do. They shape these things and change them.
Yeah, so you get like the basic archetype idea, and then you start twisting and shifting it for other ends, because it turns out to be important to Christianity, doesn't it?
Really important.
The unicorn?
Yeah, as it goes along, somehow it turns into this kind of white horse with the horn coming out of its head. There's a narwhal too, but yes. I'm sorry? Good Lord, Portland is just like, everybody's just
Jesus Christ. Everybody's like,
this is like, man,
can you just submit some, your report later?
Yeah, The narwhal, which is that crazy looking white whale with the horn. Does that then do people see a narwhal and then start thinking, and then Jesus Christ, this guy too.
Yeah, now look at this. Everybody's got the context going.
I know, my God.
Okay.
No, please. But then what? And so sailors are going off and seeing the narwhal and going, well, clearly that's a unicorn.
No. What happened was, just so you guys know, there's a Q&A section.
Yeah,
so
there
you
is
can step
actually
in
going to
at
be.
that point.
You'll get a chance to talk and attack us as much as you want.
But we love it. But,
yeah, we do,
but the thing
actually.
is, the Vikings they took these horns off the narwhals and they sold them to the suckers in Europe and said, this is a unicorn horn. And then they would put them in their museum. Yeah, absolutely.
No, and there were all kinds of, it was called, it was called alicorn, was the substance that they said.
Oh, really?
Of a unicorn's horn. And there were all kinds of magical properties attributed to it. Jesus Christ, what?
Look at this.
Somebody just say Viagra? It was the Viagra of its time. It was the Viagra of its day.
Yes, Christ. It's true.
Is that what you say that? Or was I just imagining somebody yelled Viagra? Which frequently happens to me. I'm just imagining that women are yelling Viagra at me all the time. What? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah, the OG Viagra.
It was the OG Viagra. Was it? Because, then there's all those other, like tiger penis and stuff like that.
Yeah, everything is a kind of, in natural medicine, and this is still true in Chinese medicine, everything is supposed to it's supposed to increase your virility. It's supposed to be the natural Viagra. So whatever else it does, it also does that. I told you that story when I was in China. I drank the turtle blood, and they
drank turtle blood, which was supposedly
but it wasn't for that purpose. It was for a cold. Okay, all right.
It wasn't to restore potency.
No, I was sick, but they said it's also going to help you in that area.
Very good. Yeah. I don't want to know any more about that.
Let me tell you about it.
That's it. That's it with that story. But it's fascinating. But to get back to how it changed in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, I guess because people saw the narwhal and thought, okay, that must be a unicorn, is that it takes on, all of this kind of strange association, because there was this idea that it was a very fierce animal, which I think is weird, because we don't think of unicorns at all now as being ferocious.
Yeah.
Now they're like farting rainbows and stuff like that, right? And now it's like they're very cute and peaceful or whatever. There's any number of associations with them now, but ferocity is not really one of them.
That's true.
But at the time, they were seen as these really out of control animals. And again, even the white ones, these kind of beautiful white ones. And it became the basis of, there was a whole sort of legend about unicorns, that they were wild, and it was the presence of a virgin that would calm them down. And then it became associated with Christ because of this sort of like virgin and this animal, and its blood was curative and stuff like that. So the whole thing changes into a completely different
in the medieval period.
In the medieval period. And there's actually these amazing tapestries, and I can't remember. I've seen them, and I can't remember where. Context.
Yes,
I was probably high. I'm sure I was high.
They're going to tell us.
They're in the Met or they're at the cloisters somewhere, but it's a series of them, and it's the hunt of the unicorn. And it shows the whole thing of the virgin capturing it and taming it. And then they don't kill it, but they keep it kind of penned up and imprisoned, and it becomes this incredibly peaceful beast, and it's somehow associated with Christ.
And it's got it's sort of like nuzzling up to the female, and there's other animals around, all being tamed.
Yeah.
I have here just a paragraph from the Physiologus.
Fantastic. What is the Physiologus?
The Physiologus is a collection of writings about what do animals really mean, like symbolically. So, animals weren't
from the Middle Ages?
It's actually from like the 4th century, but it was real popular in the medieval period because painters would use it for the allegories.
What? Really? Yeah. Like, so people be like, I'm going to put an owl in my painting.
Yeah,
what does that mean if I put an owl in my painting? Really?
Yes.
That's bizarre. I didn't know that.
So here's the entry on the unicorn.
Okie doke.
It says, oh shit, where are my glasses?
You lost it? Oh, Jesus.
My glasses. Okay.
You want my glasses?
In Deuteronomy, no, I think I could do it if I'm far enough. In Deuteronomy, Moses said while blessing Joseph, his beauty is that of the firstling bull. This is the unicorn. And his horns are the horns of the unicorn. So this is actually from Deuteronomy. So there's a reference to the unicorn there.
It's in the Bible,
then the monoceros, that is the unicorn, has this nature. He is a small animal like the kid, is exceedingly shrewd, and has one horn in the middle of his head. The hunter cannot approach him because he is extremely strong. How then do they hunt the beast? Hunters place a chaste virgin before him. He bounds forth into her lap, and she warms and nourishes the animal and takes him into the palace of kings.
Right.
And then it says basically, this is a kind of metaphor for Jesus. Coming down from heaven, he came into the womb of the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
He was loved like the son of the unicorns, and David said in the Psalms.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So just put that in your painting and everything's fine. That's fascinating. So this was, and you could just, so people would consult this going, that's really funny. Like I didn't know such things existed like that.
It's like the secret language of the painters, because shit means all this stuff and you don't know what it is. It's all symbolic.
That's really cool. Well, I'm sorry.
It's written in the 4th century, and then in the medieval period, there's like many, many editions of it. So it kind of expands and contracts.
It's not a bestiary. That's a different thing.
It's sort of like a bestiary. It is a kind of a bestiary. I would say it's one of the first ones.
But it's kind of admitting that none of this stuff is real.
Whoa.
Hold on. Isn't it in a way? Isn't it kind of just going like...
No. I think they're saying this is real. These animals are real, and these meanings are real.
What they mean.
Because God made the world this way, and it has a moral structure and all that shit.
Oh, okay. So it's not denying anything.
Yeah.
A moral structure and all that shit.
Well, it came out wrong. It came out wrong.
There's all kinds of cool other things that come off of it to this end. I mean, we're talking about all the properties of it and all that. I know you like Hildegard of Bingen. Does anybody know Hildegard? Yep. I thought you would like Hildegard. I knew you would like Hildegard.
We got a bunch of people into Hildegard.
I knew you would love Hildegard. She recommended an ointment against leprosy made from unicorn liver and egg yolk.
It's a good
Sounds not bad. Yeah, why not? That
really
sounds pretty good. Wearing a unicorn's leather belt was supposed to protect a person from plague. Can you imagine killing a unicorn, skinning it, and tanning its hide to make a belt? It was good against plague and fevers. Leather shoes of the animal prevented diseases of the feet, legs, and loins. And here was something I loved. The royal throne of the Royal House of Denmark, made in the 17th century, is called the unicorn throne.
Oh, is it?
Because it's largely made out of these spiral horns that, of course, turn out to be narwhals.
Oh.
That turn out to be narwhal tusks. Cool. But the fucking kings and queens of Denmark still use this thing and still claim it's unicorn horns, but it's narwhal's horns and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah.
It is weird. There's a whole fantastical biology. Like, most animals, apart from, I think, the rhino, have like, parallel structures or horns or whatever. So there is something kind of magical about it.
The single horn?
Yeah, the single horn is
that's
strange.
Interesting. I'd never thought of that.
I think in the rhino case, in the narwhal, it's actually a tooth that's growing out of its head.
It is
but in the
tooth.
rhino case, it's actually hair.
Really?
Yeah.
So what purpose is it like for fighting and like offensive and defensive stuff, or it's just it happens to have a clump of hair growing out of its
I think it's it could be both. It could be that it was for defense, but it could also be sexual selection where the females really like this look and they are attracted to it. So it evolves to attract females.
Interesting. Well, that's an interesting thing too. I think with the unicorn, that it's sort of fluid. It's not really clear sort of what gender it is and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
that's right.
Yeah, which is also interesting.
And it's kind of gotten is it kind of popular now in anime and sort of like there's sort of like a new version of this.
Is it
now we
popular?
go to you guys.
I know,
and where
you're
are
dead
you?
silent. You've gone silent.
Oh my God.
You've gone silent. You guys are just cowed. No? Is it sort of like popping up in different places?
Well, what's the connection with like rainbows and stuff? Why is it really
I read a
happy?
thing that the Victorians did that, but apparently the Victorians sort of came up with this rainbow and they softened the whole image of the.
And so you got a different kind of marketing.
You do get a different sort of thing going on. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I know that we're sort of going to look at other magical creatures, and you are interested in the Minotaur, right?
I am interested in the Minotaur. Yes, indeed.
Minotaur or Minotaur? How do you prefer it?
I think it's Minotaur. Oops, am I right? Minotaur.
People are just like,
I know. It's just like
no
being at a
patience with me
baseball
at all,
game or
like,
something.
yeah.
I know. It's crazy. Yeah, I am really interested in the Minotaur. And I've always been really interested in the whole thing of sort of people changing into animals, animals changing into people, and hybrids of animals and people.
Yeah.
And is that like, it's the hybrid of an animal and a person, is that at the like part of a definition of a monster?
I would put it as one of my definitions of a monster for sure, because if you look back in history, wherever there's heroes, there's also monsters, and the monster is often a hybrid of at least 2 or 3 zoological categories. So you'll see like Humbaba in Gilgamesh is like a mix of a couple of different creatures, all that ancient Greek stuff.
Yeah,
and the Minotaur is one of
stuff like that, centaurs. What's a chimera? What is the chimera?
Chimera is like a lion's body, a snake tail, and then this is the most fucked up part. It has like...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It has a goat head, I think, growing out of its back.
Oh.
It's something like that.
Right.
And it's like the stupidest.
That seems lazy.
Yeah, that's
that
just
monster.
lazy. Like,
that
what should we put on its back?
Yeah, just throw every possible thing in there. It seems like kind of a lazy, lame one to me. Yeah, that's a funny one. I don't really buy the chimera particularly.
That was another wild and wacky chinwag. I have to say, our audience in Portland was incredible. We'll be back next week with the rest of this conversation. Until then, thanks for joining us, and remember, folks, wag on. Chinwag is a production of Treefort Media and Touchy Feely Films, hosted and executive produced by Paul Giamatti and Stephen Asma. Executive producers for Treefort are Kelly Garner and Lisa Ammerman. Dan Carey is executive producer for Touchy Feely. Our series producer is Rachel Whitley Bernstein. Original theme music by Luke Top, with additional music by Via Mardot. Oscar Guido is our executive in charge of production. Tom Monahan is head of audio for Treefort. Audio production supervision by Jared Brom and Matt Dyson. Editing and mixing by Jeff Neal. Animation created by Alex Sokol. Research assistance by Aidan Brooks. Lastly, for more information, go to chinwagpod.fm and find us on Instagram or TikTok at chinwagpod or on Twitter at chinwag_pod.